Welcome to the Dream, Plan, Start, Grow podcast hosted by Allison Turner. In each episode, we interview real, everyday entrepreneurs to learn how they got their start, what challenges they faced and overcame when starting the business, and what successes each has had. Welcome to the Dream, Plan, Start, Grow show. My name is Allison Turner. I am your host. I created this show and this interview in order to educate other entrepreneurs on how other people started businesses. So if someone wants to start a company, or maybe they're in the early stages of entrepreneurship, they get some tips and tools that they can use in their journey. Today I have with me Judy Herman, who is otherwise known as the BRAIN-tertainer. So my first question is, how long have you been the BRAIN-tertainer? Like, how long has that brand been there?
I started in 2005, so whatever the math is to then, I guess it's 17 years now that I've started teaching. I started, Allison, because I noticed that my mother was having trouble coming up with the word or remembering the name of the person that she had had lunch with, or even the restaurant where she had eaten. And I thought, this isn't good. This isn't like her. So Mom liked to do word games. She liked the jumbles. She liked the word search. So I started working with her. And not only did she get better at it, but her confidence in her cognitive ability grew the more she was able to do. And when she went to a senior community, I asked the activities director if they had a program that was similar to what I was doing with my mother. They didn't, but she suggested that I might want to try it for the residents where my mom was living. I thought, fine, I have a degree in education, so I am familiar with creating a lesson plan, and I'm easily in front of a group of people. And it was great. I had such a big audience. And I think maybe just a little bit was trying to see my mother's daughter as well as what I was going to say. But afterwards, my mom came up to me and she said, "You were so good." She said, "Nobody fell asleep and nobody left." I thought, bingo, I can do this. So that's how All Aboard the Brain Train started. And it has evolved over the years. And I'm now teaching in 20 communities here each month. And I have private clients and I do groups as well. So it's become...
Keeps you busy.
Very. And I love it. I really do. When I say 17 years, I think, wow, that's a very long time to still be doing something and still enjoy and be stimulated and want to do more.
Mm-hmm. No, it is.
Yeah.
So was that your first journey into entrepreneurship and owning your own business?
Over the years, I've always dabbled in things. I taught healthy cooking. Before it was ever popular. My daughter went through elementary school. Nobody wanted to change lunches with her. She couldn't offer them whole wheat sandwiches and carrots instead of white bread and, whatever they were eating. And so that was very good. I had a business where I created souvenir boxes out of a menu or a program or something from an event. And that was kind of fun. It was called Boxing Clever when I was in England. And I managed a home furnishings and gift store, which was wonderful. I enjoyed that very much. So I've dabbled in a few different things, but it wasn't until I became the BRAIN-tertainer that I really found my voice and found my calling.
Oh, it sounds fascinating and very interesting, and probably you have your own niche there, because I haven't actually, not that I spend a lot of time in senior communities places, but But I haven't actually heard of that before.
Right.
At all.
A lot of the senior communities have a requirement as part of their health benefits to do something that is intellectually stimulating. And it's one of the problems that during COVID, my people were isolated, and many of them don't have the ability to do Zoom or any of the other things that we adapted to. So a lot of cognitive decline occurred in that period, and it was very sad. But people are coming back, and once I get in there and keep motivating and showing new ways of doing things, giving somebody something different, because that's how your brain grows. When you learn something new or you try something different, you're creating new neurons. Yeah, so that's what I try to do with my classes.
So when you started this, you had the first class at your mother's place. Did you know like right away, oh, this could be like a business, or like how did that evolve?
It evolved because the activities director was so impressed that she sent an email to her colleagues here in Florida. And that was how it got started. And it's been great. I have some of those very first clients today that I started with. So we've been through an awful lot. And they mean a lot to me. Every community is different, and I love going there. And it's so important when people come up to me and say, oh, I love your class. This makes such a difference. And they're so delighted by what I'm presenting. And that does me so much. That's my reward. So I love it.
No, that's great. Because I know like my father was always into crossword puzzles. So he would do, I could get him like the New York Times book of crossword puzzles for Christmas, and he could go through those, and he would do all those. He passed away more from an illness at 75 years old, but he would go through those. I know my aunt's into like Sudoku and like that side of things.
Right. Keeping your brain active with something that you enjoy, that's engaging, is really what's important. It doesn't really matter what it is, as long as you enjoy and challenge yourself. One of the problems is that, like with crosswords, you get to a point and then don't take it any further. You don't challenge yourself with the next degree of difficulty or something. You get to a point and you're happy there because you can do it. But the brain grows when you challenge it to do more. And there are two ways to do it. You can increase the difficulty of a puzzle, or you can take away some time that you give yourself. So if you do a jumble in 10 minutes, try it in 7 or 5. Give yourself that little bit of a time crunch. Your brain has to work a little harder. But anything you do, whether it's reading or puzzles or even watching game shows on television, you can learn so much. Wheel of Fortune, Jeopardy,
he likes to do
whatever.
those too.
Yeah.
Those were the other ones. That was like religiously watch those like every single night.
You can
and
learn
he could answer
a
all
lot.
like the Jeopardy. He could probably answer 80 or 90% of the Jeopardy questions. And I'm like, why don't you try and get on that show and win some money?
I was a Jeopardy champion.
Were you?
Yeah,
Maybe
time
that's where I
ago,
saw
but that
you.
was kind of maybe that's where.
Yeah, I used to watch. When I would go and see them, I used to watch the show. So and I sometimes will still flip on if I happen to be home, and I'm like, oh yeah, the Jeopardy's on.
Some of the champions lately have been phenomenal. They're weeks, not just days, and they're wonderful. But the thing with Jeopardy is, it's not that you don't know the answer; it's how quickly you recall.
Right.
And as we get older, it's that recall, the word retrieval, that's kind of sluggish. And so we have to do things to get that quick recall back, because otherwise you're standing there, you can't think of the word. And you feel so silly in that kind of thing, But most of us are able to compensate. We have a cognitive reserve, it's called. The information that we already have can be drawn upon. So if I couldn't remember a particular word, I could maybe use a synonym or describe what the word means. I could get around it. But in your head, there's a word, and it will bother you until you think of it. So I know.
Oh yeah, no,
that happens
definitely.
a lot.
Yes, I can see you clearly have a passion for what you do.
Really, I do.
And you've been able, obviously, to make it into a business. So you create all these kind of challenges yourself?
I do, many of them. Or I think of a theme. Like this particular month, we've been doing a traveling theme.
Okay.
And I've taken my students on virtual tours of countries through the puzzles that we're doing. And then what I do is I try to find different activities. So maybe one could be a crossword puzzle. I do research. I look online a lot. There are a lot of puzzles and games that I can adapt from these online sites that are available. They have many different areas that you can look up and find different types of puzzles. And essentially that's what it is, because I'm trying to activate maybe the vocabulary area, maybe the spatial area, maybe the logic, maybe numerical. There's all sorts of areas and skills that people have that they don't necessarily use that much now. So by getting into a puzzle, they may find, wait, I like this.
Right.
And then like your dad, you get the book and you just go through it. I had one man who had never done a word search, which I found hard to believe, but he had never done a word search. I introduced him to it in one of the classes. He liked it so much, he went through 15 word search puzzle books. That's a lot. Yeah. But it was something that got him up in the morning. It was a purpose. It was, something to do that he enjoyed, that he was benefiting from. Mm-hmm. And that's what you need, especially as you get older. It's important to have things that keep you stimulated.
Oh, so true. So as an entrepreneur, you started obviously with the one class, you've built it out to the 20 classes plus privates and plus groups.
Right.
So what else have you done to kind of build out the brand? Because I think it's important for, other people that are looking to potentially start a company to know, even if you start as just say like a website designer, let's say something in my arena, like you can then build out from that. You can either add more digital marketing services, or if you want to go a different direction and do something else, like there's other places you can go that are like complementary
to what I'm doing. Well, I'm excited to say that I've got an ebook that's just about ready to come out. It will be my top 10 BRAIN-tertainer tips. And it will be something that I will make available to everybody who joins my mailing list, so that I can send out each month a teaser, and then they can have the ebook, which will be fun, and further information each month. And I'm also starting a subscription service so that people who want more of what I do, not just once a month, if they want it weekly, I will be starting a service where I will send out a few puzzles, maybe a video, maybe something complimentary, and they can subscribe to that. My aim is really to get the information to as many people as I can, as easily as they can receive it. And that's my goal, because it is a very important area. I think that so many people now are becoming a lot more aware of how important it is to not only train, but maintain your brain. And that's where I'm headed, in that direction now. Okay. So there are other things that we have in mind. One of the problems is most of them require me to be there. And I wish I could clone myself. So maybe that will be something.
If you figure that out, let me know.
I may do
big money
some
on that.
sort of training. Maybe train people to be brain-tertainers.
Yeah.
We could go in that direction.
Junior
so that it would go-
brain-tertainers.
Yeah.
Under you.
Yeah. And, and brain-tertainment is not something that's just for older people. I mean, younger people too. We all have to realize that keeping this part of our body in tip-top shape means that the rest of your body is going to be performing well as well.
Right. No, so true.
Cannot neglect
the
big boss.
So do you find with your clientele that technology, so you were talking about newsletters and sending out the subscription service and things like that, that your clientele is able to easily access this type of information, with technology? Because obviously they didn't, many, I don't know what your target market is, but I would guess it's over 50. So most of them didn't grow up with the internet.
Active adults, the over 50s, I mean, over 50 is not what it used to be. I know,
but I'm just saying,
the new 40, 70.
But many people didn't grow up, like my mother is
technology.
over 80, and she didn't grow up with any of this. So she fought getting an iPhone for years and years and years, and I had the flip phone until I finally was like, okay, well the flip phone's falling apart, so you have to get something. You either need to get another flip phone, which apparently they still
difficult.
make. They still make the things. They make one. So here's your option. Your one option, or you. And she finally, the only reason she got the iPhone was because her dog started having seizures, and the vet asked for a video, and she's like, "What do you mean a video?" And now she never actually did a video because he's once he got on the medications, he has been okay, knock on wood, since then. But that's the only reason she got the iPhone was. Impetus was the animal, versus I don't think she would have gotten it.
It's having motivation.
Yeah.
And that's what got her.
But I don't know that she would, look at a phone to download a puzzle, for example, because she doesn't, even though I bought her a computer, she never uses it now that she has this little mini computer in her hand.
Right.
So I guess that's my question, because I could see a membership site would be great, but then they have to be on a computer, and some of them may or may not be on computers all the time.
That's right. And that is a problem with my senior clients. Although surprisingly, a lot of them do email, and they are, online, and it's not a problem. Yeah. My active adults are pretty much all pretty technologically involved. My one-on-one clients, I don't really need it with them. So I would say that the bulk of my audience would be email accessible. Okay. So that would be good.
Yeah, because I think an email membership site would be interesting. Because
Yeah.
especially if you have, it sounds like you have a ton of content anyway from the 17 years you've been in business. So
you can't imagine.
If you can
and it's
be able
a lot is print.
Well, yeah, if you could be able to create it digitally, which I'm sure it's got to be a way to do it,
it's been
scan
digital.
it.
I've got it on the computer, and then I print it for my classes.
Yeah.
But,
so but you could easily put that into a membership site.
Yeah. Well, that's what we're going to be working on within the next few months. I set aside a bunch of time where I can work on something like this and still get everything else done that I need to. So it's very exciting. This is a thrilling time for me, I have to say. I'm really enjoying what I'm doing even more.
No, that's great, because I think for business owners, you have to have a passion about what you do, and I think that's what I always tell someone wants to start up a business, because every once in a while you hear someone that gives that story of oh, my best friend has this kind of company, and I'm gonna and they make a lot of money, so I'm gonna start that kind of company, and they have zero interest in really the the industry, whatever it is. Yeah. But they have an interest in the end result of that. Yeah. But their best friend has a passion for what he or she is doing. Right. So it's a different, so you're not necessarily going to be successful just because, unless it's a franchise where it's, a business in a box that you can hand to someone to run basically
Right.
and have that kind of capital to invest in it.
Right.
You're not going to be able to basically just create it on your own.
Yeah, it's so important to really love what you're doing. It shows. I get, my classes, my students, my clients, they all can feel the energy of my passion for it. And it gets them enthused.
Right.
And that's what you want. And for somebody to start a business, I think if they have a passion for whatever it is that they do, I'll tell you, my daughter has been great. She's a personal trainer. She's got a lot of clients, but she's also now started a terrific dog walking and sitting service. And she has just so many clients. I mean, in one day, she can have 4 dogs to walk and she'll stay at somebody's house and the whole thing.
Wow.
So she has evolved a wonderful business because she loves dogs. So if you have that kind of interest and enthusiasm and passion for something, there's your business. Just figure out how to make it work for you.
Yeah, and make money with it.
And make money. That's another thing. It can be a very nice hobby, as you realize when you do your taxes and you think, well, wait a minute, I've got this much coming in and my expenses are, is this a hobby or is this a real thing?
Business?
But eventually, if you play it right, it does become a business and it can be very rewarding financially, but even more rewarding for your heart and for your brain and for your soul. Don't you feel? I mean, that's my take.
Yeah. So what have been your biggest challenges when you first started the business?
Yeah, getting people to realize that this is something that they can do. There's a lot of resistance, And so getting them to understand that it doesn't have to be painful to do this. And somebody said about my classes, it's learning without studying. And once you decide that it's important to keep learning at any age, and it really is to keep that lifelong learning, then they're more receptive. And also, dealing with activities directors and schedules and all of I'm a one-man band. So, all of the marketing, all of the invoicing, all of the this, that, and the other that I don't like to do. That's the part of the business that isn't fun. Making up the puzzles, putting together the lesson plans, actually teaching or presenting, that's the gravy. That's the best. But I also enjoy the creation of doing these things.
So obviously you have kind of, at least in your communities, you have kind of a captive audience. So if you can get 1 or 2 of them to be engaged, they'll spread the word for you and bring the rest of them in.
A lot.
But how did you get, you mentioned you have individual clients as well. So how do you get those clients? How do they come into you?
Mainly referrals.
Okay.
I'll have people who realize that either their spouse or a friend or somebody is having some cognitive issues. And I can't say that I can cure them, but I can point them in the direction of activities that might help them. And so that's where, essentially, because I have never marketed the one-on-ones, but they come. They come. It's really word of mouth. I think a lot of the problem for me in marketing is that some of my students, the older ones, are not the ones that are seeing what I'm offering. It's probably the adult children of senior citizens who will take up what I'm offering for their parents. Because the parents won't say they want it. But if you say, Dad, I've got this great program for you, and this woman's going to come and we're going to see how it goes, and then Dad loves it, well, then Dad tells his buddy or the wife, so that's how the one-on-one clients go. And similarly with my large groups, I've been very, very successful with women's groups at some of the communities, and the Hadassah or the PAP groups, or, women's clubs. Everybody, when they have a meeting, needs a speaker. And now I've kind of gotten onto that roster. So people are calling me, which is great. So I guess to answer one of the questions anyway, I mean, if you're good at what you do, the work comes to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I find you still have to get the word out. But,
True.
Obviously you see a lot of clients, so you get the word out to some degree through those other clients.
Right.
And have kind of built it over time to what it is today.
True. And when you're doing it all as one person, I said I'm in 20 classes a month, plus individual clients, plus maybe on the weekend or during the one weekday morning, I'll have a presentation. Okay. So it's busy, but it's a good busy.
Yeah, good busy is a good thing.
Yeah.
Bad busy is not such a good thing.
No.
So it sounds like you're very organized and kind of have your scheduled.
Yes.
The way you need it to be scheduled.
Right. I do. And I'm very lucky. That's another thing about being an entrepreneur. You can set your own hours.
Yep.
You can set your own days. We were talking earlier, you're a morning person. Not me. I don't really do mornings. My earliest class is at 11 and it's a struggle, believe me. But I am able to have 1 week a month, the first week of the month, when I don't have any classes to teach. And I call that my flex time, where I am able to go for lunch with a friend, or I'm able to do things because I don't have that set schedule. But take me into the second, third, and fourth weeks of the month, and
you don't see anyone else.
That's it.
Lockdown.
Unless I can switch you in between two classes, I can't see you.
Yeah, you come to me.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, and I think it's important to have that balance, either family balance, friend balance, whatever that is.
Very.
So you have the outside support as well as, your own.
Right. And especially keeping in touch with people that you're not seeing on a regular basis. People say in New York, or I used to live in England and I still have a lot of friends there, and trying to get in touch with them. It's a little tricky because there's a 5-hour difference. Right. But I do keep in touch on WhatsApp or FaceTime or there's so many ways that you can do it. You just have to make the time for it and have the desire to do it. And not always wait for somebody to call you. If I think about somebody, well, there you go, I call them. Or if I'm driving past a community where somebody I know lives and I haven't spoken to them recently, I'll give them a call. Those little, cues, which is what we need to remind us, are good in a social way as well.
Mm-hmm. No, I just find it so important. I mean, obviously you get the educational piece kind of built into your career choice. So, for me, dedicating some time to read, more of a self-development or business development book is important. I know I've gone through phases where I didn't do any of that. And then, I just, I'm more dedicated at doing like 10 pages a day, basically. Sometimes it's, a little bit more than that. Sometimes it's just 10, but, just 10 pages a day. I mean, so it's kind of good to see how many books you kind of get through over the course of many months, just reading 10 pages a day.
Right.
But having that dedication, to that, and then obviously your health. I know we talked about a little bit the workout. I mean, I tend to walk early in the morning.
I do sunset walks.
Yeah, well, that works too.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful. Going to Green Cay or some of those wetlands.
Green Cay is great.
Beautiful. We're lucky here in Florida. We can do that pretty easily.
I know.
With the...
I look at people's lives in the winter up there and I'm like, why do you live up there? Although more and more keep coming here, so I shouldn't advertise that.
Exactly.
So y'all stay up north.
Exactly. Yeah. We know what we've got and it's good, but you stay there.
We'll come visit.
Yeah, well,
in the
I
summer.
actually am going up in the fall. I love the fall up
Oh,
north.
yeah.
So
I
I'm
do
going
too.
up at the end of September, beginning of October. I get a whole different vibe when I'm up in New York. And of course, I'm seeing family and friends, and I grew up there, so it's all
Okay.
familiar. And yeah, I try to get up there twice a year, usually, both in the spring and the fall, and not in the winter, and not in the summer. You know, people say, how can you stay in Florida during the summer? It's so hot. Tell me about it this summer when you've had 104 in some of the
Oh, I
air-
know.
It was
It's been hotter up there.
104 in London. In
Yeah, I know.
London.
Yeah, I
And they
saw
don't
that.
have air conditioning a lot in England. I know that for a fact. So they were really hot for a while.
Yeah, I lived
Yeah.
in Chicago for several years, and you know, some of those older buildings that were built in the 1800s, like I had window units in my apartment because it was built in 1880 or something like
Yeah.
that, and so they just hadn't converted the whole place. So I had like window units. They would come out in the winter, and then I would just stick them back in the summer
Right.
and run those. But I mean, I remember when I lived there, they had the heat index of like 110 one time. And so these seniors that were in these high-rise things that had no
Exactly.
air conditioning were dying like left and right. And, you know, they were trying to like rescue them out of these buildings because they couldn't even.
That was happening all over Europe
Yeah.
this summer. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
and I know
dreadful.
Chicago's hit high again this summer, and Indianapolis, where I have
I
family.
lived in Highland Park for a long time.
Okay.
In Chicago, so outside Chicago.
Yep.
Lovely.
I know
And,
that area.
you know, sadly, that was the parade.
Yep.
Terrible. And it's such a beautiful community, perfect place to raise kids, and to have something like that happen. So devastating.
Yeah, I know.
Terrible.
I mean, unfortunately, all this stuff is happening all over the country and all over the world. So, but we digress. We digress.
Sorry about
to
that.
a different
we
subject.
started to talk home, and now we get into this.
Right,
So.
right.
Okay. Back to.
So what's been your biggest success with this business?
I think just getting known for being the brain-tertainer. And, you know, when I tell people what I do, they are interested. So it's having that, I think the designation brain-tertainer was a good one. You asked me how I got it earlier. And the fact that it's entertaining your brain for training and maintaining it is something that most people are interested in. So I think my success in the business is becoming known for what I do and inspiring people to do more for themselves as well.
Now, do you know people that do what you do in other parts of the country?
I really don't. I'm sure that there are a lot of people who are doing classes. I know that Dr. Cynthia Green up in New Jersey and New York has a wonderful program called Total Brain Health.
Okay.
And she has taken it to far beyond where I am in terms of having actual packaged courses that she makes available to communities. And the head office will buy it for a few of their different communities and see how it goes. So she has taken it to a very great extent, far more than I. But
Does someone then teach that course in those communities? Like, so if it's a kind of course in a box, which
a
is
course in a box, so that somebody from staff can actually present the information. So
Okay.
rather than having me come in and do it, they buy the program from her and then present that program in the communities. And it's great. I mean, she has done extremely well. And, you know, if I had the years behind to do it, because she's been doing this for a number of years. Had I started a lot earlier, I might have gotten to something like that. But
it's never too late.
It's never too late to be the person you were meant to be. That's George Eliot, I think, said that. But that's very true. She has taken it to a much different level than I have. But I'm evolving. and growing. And
Yeah.
there is no limit, really. So.
No. I mean, especially if you're going to go subscription or membership or something like
Or
that.
trainings,
because,
because
that's something that doesn't necessarily, once it's set up, require your day-to-day interaction with it.
Exactly.
Other to add more content, but if it's a subscription service and you start with 10 weeks or 10 whatever, build it out. Continue to build it out. But it sounds like you already have the content. It's just a matter of building it out.
Exactly right. Exactly right. I've wanted to do something with everything that I've accumulated for a number of years now, and this now is the time. I've gotten, taken care of a whole lot of other things in life, and now I can really devote myself to this, and it's a pleasure.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's great. So what's been your biggest frustration of owning a business?
That you have to do a lot of stuff that you don't love doing, that is not in your wheelhouse, that is beyond your comfort level. And that, for me, is all the bookkeeping, administrative, precisely. So
non-creative.
Yeah, that's not for me.
That's what I always tell people from the business coaching perspective, is to hire that stuff out. Obviously, you can't always, like when you first start a business, when you first come in, and it's you alone, depending on what if you have income behind you or not, or money behind you, you can't always do that initially.
Exactly.
Because a lot of times you're, every single position, including website designer and marketer and salesperson and service, you do the service, you do it all. But, as you grow, it's like, okay, I don't like that. I have a payroll company that I input the numbers, but like the payroll company tracks everything. They send out all the W whatevers and all that wonderful stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's so important. You should do what you're good at and let somebody else do what they're good at that can help you. So you're right. Somebody who can do the bookkeeping or can do some of the administrative stuff that I don't. And the thing is, I could do it, but it would take me so long. Whereas for somebody who knows what they're doing, boom, 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 they don't get confused. It's why I have been collaborating with this woman in California, my creative muse, Cheryl Bernstein. I want to say thank you. But she has really helped me get this thing together. It looks good. It feels like me. It's my voice. She's just making it look right. And she knows how to do that.
Yeah.
What she's doing would take me weeks.
Right.
Takes her hours. So perfect. I'm happy to pay her to get that done because it would be taking time away from what I need to do to continue doing what I do on a daily basis. Yeah.
And what you love to do.
And what I love to do. Yeah.
So as we start to wind down today, what would you say, if someone's going to start a business, and what would you give, like one tip that maybe you either learned early on or you acquired, into your entrepreneurial journey of like what's really helped you in that process? What would that be?
I would say believe in yourself. Know what you want. Have a clear vision. Okay. And then go for it. And do what you need to do or get help to start up what you have in your head, because whatever it is that you're starting is unique. It's yours. Mm-hmm. And if you have the confidence and the belief that what you have to share is valuable, and you know that you are capable of putting it out there, go for it. Have the confidence, have the belief in yourself, and just do it. Don't wait, because the longer you wait, the longer it will be for you to really reap the rewards, which I'm finding now. I am loving what I'm doing, but it took a while to get here. As you know, anybody who starts a business, and I hope to grow it to many levels. But I have the confidence in that. And I didn't always, but it grows. So have the belief, have confidence, and do it.
Awesome. And if anyone wanted to get in touch with you to either learn more about your program or ask a question of you, what's the best way to do that?
And you're very welcome to. My website is www.thebrain-tertainer.com. You can email me on j.herman@brain-tertainer.com. And my phone number, if you want to give me a call, maybe we can set up a meeting on the phone, is 561-542-7830. And I'll look forward to hearing from you.
Great. Thank you very much for joining me today, Judy.
Great pleasure, Allison.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for
And
having me.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. My name again is Allison Turner. I am the host of the Dream Plan Start Grow show. If you have any questions for me or want any additional resources, all of my podcasts, audio and videos, are on the dreamplanstartgrow.com website. I also offer a 30-minute complimentary consultation if you are interested in either starting a business or maybe you're early on in your entrepreneurial journey and stuck in those early stages. So please reach out to me, and we look forward to seeing you again next week. Thanks for tuning in to the Dream Plan Start Grow podcast with Allison Turner. If you like what you heard, make sure to subscribe and leave a review. Join the Dream Plan Start Grow community by following us on Facebook or Instagram @Dream Plan Start Grow. See you in the next episode.